I never lied to my kids about really anything, I figure if they're old enough to ask the question, they're old enough to hear the answer. That's kind of been always my
Yeah.
philosophy on that sort of thing.
Thank you for jumping on the podcast.
Yeah, but
I don't know if you had time or if you listened to any other episodes on the podcast, but it's pretty simple conversation talking about your story.
okay.
Hopefully, another dad is going through something like that
Right.
and can take something from it.
Cool. Sounds good, bro.
Yeah. So, yeah, cool. Let's jump right into it. If you want to introduce yourself and then tell us a little bit about what you're going through.
Man, my name's Tim. 2017. The mother of my three younger children, she passed away in a car accident. And
Oh,
yeah, man, that's how I wound up being a single dad. And shit happens. I mean, what can you do, man? I miss the fuck out of her, I tell you that much. But I don't know. I don't have a lot. I guess I don't have a lot of the problems. I never had problems with like the baby mama stuff, and I see a lot of that on the page and stuff, and it just makes me
yeah.
so grateful for like who the mother of my kids was. You know what I'm saying? That we never had those issues, and even though we weren't together, like we didn't. I just feel I don't know, man. I just grateful. Just the stuff you find to be grateful for as you like move through
Definitely.
this experience of being a single parent. You know what I mean? And like, it's not easy. It's fucking lonely sometimes, but it's all worth it. I know that much.
Yeah. Now, how many kids do you
I
have?
got four daughters.
Four daughters. Okay.
Yeah. My oldest, her mama took her away from me when about 15 years ago, and moved her to Alabama, and so she's 19, gonna be 20 here pretty soon, and getting back in contact with her and stuff. So that's been kind of something new for me. That's been going pretty good. But my youngest three, yeah, I got one that's about ready to be 19. She lives about 5 hours from where I live, doing her thing, and then I got my two youngest.
Yeah. Now, how has that been doing? Raising all daughters.
Oh, dude, it was really easy when their mom was alive. You know what I'm saying? Because their mom
Yeah.
she just was able to sand off all my sharp edges and shit. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like let me, because I was not raised in an environment of love or like a good family environment. I was kind of raised by the system and in and out of juvenile facilities, and then I got to that life till about 27 when my kid's mom died, but I never stopped living that life. You know what I mean? Selling dope, and you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Just living like that. I mean, my kids knew who I was. I was very active in my kids' lives. It was not like I was just like this absent father, but I just hustled and grinded and just lived a certain lifestyle where like being soft and shit wasn't would get you hurt pretty much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of that. And then their mom died, and all of a sudden it was like, all right, dude, you better get it figured out, because whether you know how to do any of this or not, you gotta bring that softness and compassion and understanding and empathy to the table to raise up these girls, man. Otherwise, they're just gonna be incomplete females. You know?
Yeah, I mean it is tough, and I would definitely with your situation, growing up the way you grew up, but definitely for men in general,
Hmm.
they're not soft. They're not raised to be soft. So
Yep.
it's tough to have that soft side
Yeah.
because sometimes I'll talk to my kids and I'll be like, oh, you know what I mean? Shit, I'm being a little too,
Yeah.
aggressive. I need to chill it out a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because you don't want to. One thing, like I never lied to my kids about really anything. I figure if they're old enough to ask the question, they're old enough to hear the answer. That's kind of been always my
yeah,
philosophy on that sort of thing. Because the last thing you want to do is like your kid asks you a question, and then they don't necessarily buy it or believe it, or it's still confusing to them because you're trying to make it something that it's not. And so they go ask that
right.
question again to somebody else, and that person gives them the truth or whatever. Then now what does that do? All of a sudden, it's like, wow, can I really trust my dad to answer my questions? And that was just
Right.
something I never ever wanted my kids to be like, no, dad's not going to have all the answers, but he'll have some ideas and he'll help us get it figured out. But like, he'll never lie to us. He'll always just tell us whatever it
Yeah.
is we want to know. No matter how hard it is. I think that's kind of an important thing that for me raising my kids is like got us through the hard times. And I've
Yeah.
You know, I've not always been the best dad, dude. You know what I mean? I've struggled with mental illness and uh, just issues like that. And things can get really difficult, man. And everybody's got their own problems and their own issues and stuff, man. But
Absolutely.
I think just
Now, did that set you kind of on like a straighter path? After your wife died,
hmm
and just because you're the only one now there for your kids, and you have to be there.
yeah. Well, the cool thing is like I got sober about a year before she passed away. You know, and she was a big part of that. She was a big reason. She got me connected with people who were living a sober life and doing that sort of thing. And so she definitely kind of me getting on the straight and narrow started about a year before she passed away. And then when she passed away, man, I was still really inept at a lot of stuff. Like
Yeah.
you know, uh, uh, so you figure it out, man. It's hard and you make a lot of mistakes and there's times where your kids are disappointed and angry with you and they should be, you know what I mean? Especially when
Right.
you're supposed to be that person, like whether you know how to be or not, like your kids have this
Right.
expectation that you got to be that for them. And
And now you're playing both roles
yeah,
too, which is extremely tough.
yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Don't make it. It's not easy, dude. It's not easy, but it has taught me more about myself and really helped me learn who my kids are more than anything else I've ever experienced in my life. So,
Yeah. Now, what made you join the Facebook group?
well, um, so when my kid's mom first passed away, man, uh, and it's weird you asked me this question because I've been thinking about it and I didn't want to really like have this conversation with people around the holidays and stuff because it's super heavy, but like, I had like in this place, I had like this one dude who's like just like my brother. You know what I'm saying? Like I fucking love this guy. And I knew him for about 5 years, man. And then he calls me up one night and he goes, Tim, I need help. I need help. I need to get off the stuff, blah, blah, blah. So I said, come on, bro, I got you. And well, a couple months later, he wound up fucking drugging and molesting one of my kids. Yeah,
No.
man. And so like when my daughter told me, she didn't tell me for like a year. Okay. And then she
Yeah.
come out, I'm like, I'm just like in the moment of just like complete frustration and like whatever. And I just I did shout at her and I said, what the fuck is wrong with you? What is going? 'Cause she's
Yeah.
cutting herself and just doing all kinds of stuff, man. And it just was like, and then she was just like, so and so did this to me. And, I, that father, any father who listens to this will understand if they've gone through it or if they worry about it or whatever, that like your kid comes and tells you that the last thing you want to do is call the police, man. No, 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 no.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
don't want to call the cops. No, you want to go deal with that
Yeah.
yourself. And so I grabbed this big knife I had, man, and I went towards the front door, and all three of my kids jumped in front of me. Dad, no. So I turned around and went out the back door into this fucking blizzard, dude. And I walked to this dude's house, and I come around the front of his house, and right there in the window, man, it's him and this uh his son decorating the Christmas tree. So I stood out there for about 10 minutes, man, just watching him. And 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 then I just decided that, what, that boy, he didn't do nothing to me, man. I can't leave that boy with that. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
watching me kill his fucking dad. You know what I mean? Like so I went home and we wound up getting her some counseling. He went to court, whatever, and that was what it was. But it was even so gnarly that you know, it's really easy to get weapons into a courthouse, man. You just got to make sure they're not going to ring the bell. You know what I'm saying? And so I
Yeah.
did that, and uh, I was going to stab this dude up right in the courtroom, like fuck you and your 5 years probation, dude. Like I'm fixing to just make you go bye bye. And
Yeah.
when I got into the courtroom, this is a little tiny courtroom too, dude. They had the first 3 rows of seating like completely taped off, like nobody's allowed to sit there, and they had like 5 cops in this courtroom, so they
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 knew
knew
something was
something was up,
something was
dude,
gonna
and
go
they
down.
looked at me and they knew who I was when I walked through that door, and they said, you
Yeah.
can sit back there. And they pointed me all the way to the back seat, dude, and said, you sit right there, don't move. And
Wow.
yeah, so kind of whatever, but like, it was like, what do you do from that? I don't know. It was, what I did and what I think, everybody's like, well, you got to send them to counseling and this and that. I thought to myself, like, okay, counseling. Okay. That stuff happened to me for a long period of time in my life when I was a boy. And the last thing I wanted was to establish a relationship with somebody so that I could tell them about all this. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
That I wanted somebody that I knew, I trusted, I loved to give me the answer, dude. You know what I mean? And so what does that require? Out of me, that required me coming to my kid and be like, all right, baby girl, well, let me tell you about, she knew that stuff like that happened to me, but she didn't really know. You know what I'm saying? And so I just gave it
Yeah.
all to her. And then I gave her just over, time, just like answers to her question about, okay, dad, how do I do this? How do I get rid of this? And blah, blah. And, you know, I just made myself this. I dove into my own life and my own pain and my own traumas and my own stuff. And I said, okay, kid, this is what I have figured out. You know what I mean? Not
Yeah.
gonna make you sit for a year and a half or whatever, however long it takes you to no, there's no need for that, man. Here, here's me, here's my life, here's my pain. I have answers for you. you and
Yeah.
when you're
Because then
ready,
she has someone who can relate a little bit
and on
of
top of that,
kind of some traumas and stuff.
she doesn't have to she doesn't have to establish trust with me.
Right.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? She just all her answers, uh, and and then I was like that compassion and that empathy. That's where that really came through for me as a father. Like when all of a sudden I understood what empathy meant. You know what I mean? Like I actually
Yeah.
felt it viscerally in my body, and then I was like, okay, this is the kind of stuff that their mom was talking about for all them years about Tim. You gotta stop being so hard all the time. These are your daughters. Like they love you. It's
Yeah.
okay. And yeah, it took a lot, man. But she's doing real good now, yeah. And
That's awesome.
it's been a couple years, and yeah, she moved through it, man. And she's not cutting herself no more. And she's confident, and she's got her smile back. All these, got my baby back. You know what I'm saying?
That's great. Yeah.
So, you know, that's kind of like, um, that's just like one of the things.
Yeah. If there's any advice you could give to single dads out there, I know your story is a little bit different,
Yeah,
but we have had a couple people on with a similar story
yeah,
of yours. But what's some advice you would give to some dads out there?
dude, some advice, man. Oh, you know, uh, real advice, man, is like you got for one, you better dive into yourself and figure yourself out. You know what I mean? Like this, you got to keep in mind, man. Them kids are watching everything that you do, and they listen to everything you say, man. And so, like, everybody's worried about the short game, the short game, the short game, the short game. Yeah, the short game's fun to play, man, and it is an important part of life. But man, when it comes to raising kids, dude, you got a long game that shit, man. You know what I mean? You got a long game, and you
Yep.
got to understand that through this long game, dude, you're gonna make so many mistakes, and you're gonna have to be ready to literally just forgive yourself. Like one of the greatest things that I ever did as like a parent was like let my kids be mad and disappointed in me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if what I mean by that is like if I had done something or whatever that was just not a good dad move, you know what I'm saying? And 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 it upset them or they felt disrespected or whatever they were going through. I didn't. I allowed them to like vent those frustrations and say what they had to say to me, even if they had to yell it at me, because the last thing I wanted for
Yeah.
them was for them to that be inside of them and like continually hurting them and making them doubt things and be frustrated and angry and the worst thing you could tell your kid if they're frustrated or angry at you is like shut up, I don't want to hear it. That's the worst thing you can tell them.
Right. And that's with everybody too, is when you keep stuff bottled up inside, it only builds and builds and
Yeah,
builds and get worse.
yeah,
So that's yeah, that's
yeah. I
good
mean, just let
good
them be,
advice right
and you
there.
know what, if you just let them be mad and angry with you and you can correct them, you know what I mean? Like if they scream at you,
Right.
okay, fine, they scream, okay, you don't let it show in your face that it hurts your feelings or that they shouldn't do that or whatever. Well, you know what, man? You got to own it. And part of forgiving yourself is like receiving what it is that is due to you based off whatever happened. You know what I'm saying? And like, so you can either
Yeah.
leave that with them and tell them to just hold that in and not worry about blah, 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 or just deal with it by yourself or whatever. Like, yeah, you can do that. But I found that just letting them be frustrated and angry and disappointed and just actually allowing them the space to what is going to eventually, if it allow them to like forgive you, because then they're not mad at you, they're not angry with it. It's all gone. It's done. You know, now it's on you to just
Yeah.
make different choices and do not make that mistake again. You know what I'm saying? And then that's your apology.
Yeah.
And in that, that's how you can be forgiven, and that's how you can forgive yourself. Because the worst thing you can do is beat yourself up to the point, man, where you believe that your kids are better off without you. Because I'm telling you, that's a scary, scary place to be, man. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Man, I love that. I love that advice. That was
You know
great.
what I'm saying? It's just it's
Um,
scary. Yeah.
yeah. How were they dealing with the loss of their mom,
Uh,
and especially was it your youngest that went through that trauma?
no, that's my middle. It was the middle one that went through that.
Your middle, so she's definitely went through a lot.
Yeah, you know, like the older two, I mean, the youngest was like 7 when her mom passed. So, you know, she's only had about 2 years of memories of her. You know what I mean? So for her,
Right.
it's been a little easier. You know what I'm saying? Uh, but the biggest thing that I did, man, is I didn't talked about their mom a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And them and me talking. And at first, they didn't respond. They just would like listen to me or whatever. And I would tell them funny stories, or you know what I mean, kind of be like, "Oh man, your mom." One time, your mom was just like she was such an asshole, and just tell them like a funny story or something that you know what I mean, that I know that
Yeah.
will make them smile, even if they don't want to talk about it, right? Because what I'm doing is I'm setting the example of this is how you deal with this.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? You don't keep it. You don't
Yep.
not talk about it, man. You know. And then, of course, they got into talking about it, and now we have conversations. You know, I just had one with the middle child a couple weeks ago, and she just broke down. She's just like, "God, Dad, I miss Mom so much." And I'm like, "I know, baby." And she's, you know, she's forgetting what the sound of her voice was, or her laugh. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
You got to
It's
keep
like,
that memory alive.
so, you know, then it's like, okay, then I get on her Facebook page and I find some videos or something, and I send them to her. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
here's what your mom sounded like. This was her laugh. You know what I mean? Like,
And it's tough too I mean, I've never been in that situation and, hopefully never, but because you're dealing with those emotions, but then you also have to think about your kids that are going through that
hmm
emotion and worry about that. So it's like
yeah.
kind of a,
Well, you know, it's like,
yeah,
you know, I just took. I mean, when she was my best friend, dude. You know what I mean? She was my
yeah,
staunchest supporter. Like, she never even though we weren't together the last 7 years she was alive. You know what I mean? Like, she never ever. I mean, I never did not give her money for her kids or but like she never went to the court. She never talked bad about me. She just never treated me bad, dude. I mean, you know, like and you know, we were so close to getting back together too, dude. Like 48 hours. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? And then it happened, and it was like, damn, you know. So, I mean, it broke me in a lot of ways, you know, and you know, I understood that it was now I can either pass my kids off onto some professional, right, and
right.
let them figure it out and be the guide for my children, or I can just man up, dive into myself, access what I'm really going through, and then be a visual, auditorial display of like, you know, this is how you do it. This is the
Yeah.
process you
And it's
go
hard
through,
as fuck, but
you know, because I
yeah,
just figured like they would follow me before they followed anybody else. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And so, yeah, just get in line, girls. Here we go. Like we're gonna get through this. You know what I mean? Like I'll knock through all the heavy stuff, man. Guys, sweep up the row behind me, and when we're done, we'll be able to look back and go, man, we cleaned that up pretty good, you know. And
That's
you
awesome.
know, so that was
Yeah.
my mindset. It was not easy, man. It was very painful,
Oh, absolutely.
very sad. But you know, it was a challenge for me for sure. But you know, but I'm all my kids got, you know. So
Yep.
that better be something worth looking at, you know. That's the way I feel
Yeah.
about it, you know.
That's awesome. How old is your youngest now?
She's 14, yeah.
14.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
she'll be 15 in April. Oh, yeah. It's almost over, man. It's crazy. And like,
I
all I want to
know,
do is do it over again. But not even like with the same
right?
kids, right? Because obviously that's the pipe
Right.
dream. But like, I'm like 39 years old. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, dude, am I really done being a dad yet? You know, I only got a couple years
Dude, it's the
left.
best thing ever, but it goes by so
Yeah, dude. And
fast.
it's almost like, damn, I want to have another kid. I've been thinking a lot about it for like 8 or 9 months, dude. But it's like, I've been single for so long, you know. It's like I don't even know how to like talk to girls anymore. I hate to give us, you know.
Yeah.
But
Did you ever introduce your kids to any other
no,
woman or never?
no.
Yeah,
I did
yeah,
have a
okay. Wow.
girlfriend. Uh, for about a year before Felicia, my kid's mom, passed away, and stayed with her for a few years. But man, she's a beautiful, good woman. But man, she's just toxic as shit. Really, just
Yeah.
toxic, man. For me, anyways. For the next guy, she might just be
Yeah.
amazing. You know what I mean? But like, and I hope that
Yeah.
she is, because the last thing I want for her is
But
to like not have love and that kind of stuff in her life. You know what I mean?
dude, and I love that. You were even, you're not talking bad, you're not talking down.
No.
She's a beautiful girl, but she was just toxic for
Yep.
me. And like, dude,
And
that's
I
awesome.
think what I have come to understand, and I found this out when I like really that moment when I understood that me and the kid's mom were like okay, like when she comes back from this trip, we're going to breakfast, and it's like, look, this family needs to be back. You know what I mean? Like that's how
Yeah.
powerful that moment was. Like, for her to finally say, these are the like, you were right about so much, and I'm so sorry. And that's all I ever wanted to hear from her, was that,
Yeah.
for all those years that she said, "Oh, you're crazy, you're crazy. That's not going on. That's not going on. That's not going on." For her, and I never stopped loving her. I mean, she's the mother of my kids, dude. You know what I'm saying? And like the woman was willing to bleed for me. You know what I mean? Which like she'd fight men for me, dude. She was down as shit. You know what I mean? Like she was, dude. And I could never
Yeah.
ever turn my back on that, no matter what. And then you put to boot that she's got, you know, she gave me three beautiful kids, and then there's just I'm gonna love her forever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I was never gonna be able to be with her again until she like was like, "Yo, dude, I did that, and I know you knew, and I'm fucking really sorry." And so we had that conversation, pretty much.
Yeah.
And that was kind of all I needed. I was like, okay, here's that woman. Here, she's arrived now. Um,
Yeah.
but didn't work out, And so like I took that understanding that came from like, you got to remember. I think it's really important that you didn't always hate this woman, man. That you guys didn't always have these problems. And I think as men, if we actually sit back and take that female and put her to the side, we're not even going to worry about her, except for in the fashion of, what did I do to change her mind? Because we all did something. Whether we got lazy, whether we got distracted, whether we started checking out other females, like whether we just started being an asshole, or like, we're trying to have expectations in a relationship. You can't expect nothing from nobody, dude, because all you're going to wind up is disappointed, for one. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
That's just all there is to it. And so like something happened somewhere that changed her mind. And sometimes that's not the case. Let's be real. Sometimes that's not the case. But I think in a lot of cases, man, if these guys go, okay, and actually look at themselves, then they probably wouldn't be so angry with these women, for one, and could go, all right, yeah, I did that. Like I have my part in this
Yeah.
too. You know what I'm saying? Like, not all her, not all
Yep.
me. We both fucked up. You know what I mean? So how did I do that? What did I do? And then what they do
Yeah.
is they can forgive themselves. They can open themselves up to being forgiven by this person who they have kids with, who their forgiveness you should seek out for the benefit of your children.
Right.
You,
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
hard for people to look back in the heat of the moment, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, in the heat of war pretty
Yeah.
much,
But it's so
but at the end
important,
of the day
dude.
it's all about the kids,
It's
so
it's
yeah, oh
it's so
yeah.
important. And if like here's the thing about like that war that I've come to understand anyway, is that like if you're not dealing with these things while you're actively fighting this war, then when you're done with that war, you will never be a peaceful warrior tending to your garden, because your garden is your life, and you didn't take care of your life while you were going through war. You know what I mean? And so you're never gonna find peace, dude. And so, you got to fight that internal battle at the same time you're trying to take on whatever it is that's coming at you. You know what I mean? Otherwise,
Yeah.
you're going to leave yourself behind, pretty much, is what it's going to boil down to. And so, like, when it comes to my ex, like, yeah, I loved her, man. I loved her. I love her now. You know, I still got pictures of her on my phone I can't get rid of. You know what I mean? And it's been 2 years, but you know, she also showed me exactly what I'm not willing to accept in a relationship either. So she did me a lot of favors on top of being just when she was good to me, she was good to me, man. And when we fell apart, you know, I had my I gave her plenty of reasons to change her mind, I guess is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? And then she did.
Yeah.
You know, so
That's
how am I gonna be
awesome.
mad at her for
Yeah.
that? So, you know, some things time you can cause some pains in life that time won't heal. You know,
Yeah.
and we do that in relationships. We do that to ourselves. We do that to our animals. We do that to I mean, just every relationship we have. We're not careful, we can screw every single one of them up real quick.
Yeah, but I mean, it seems like, coming from where you came from, dealing drugs, all that stuff. It seems like you're on such a better
Yeah,
path
dude, I'm
now with your life.
yeah, I'm way
So
happier with
that's
my
good to
life
hear.
now than I
Yeah,
ever was. That doesn't mean
it's hard work,
yeah,
but
yeah, it
it's
definitely
worth
wasn't
it.
easy, man, and it's not done. The work isn't done.
Right.
The work
Yep.
theoretically should take until I take my last breath. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's like I said, yeah. I don't want to just become sedentary in this life and just not be useful. You know,
Right.
and I
Right.
think as men,
Yeah.
that's something that we want to be respected and we want to be useful to the people that we love in our life. You know,
Absolutely.
and you know, so and we're gonna move towards those relationships we find that type of stuff in. And so that's it's a lot smaller of a list than a woman needs, but it's so important for us guys,
Sure.
man. And if you don't let your loneliness keep you in a fucking bad relationship. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or get into one for that matter. And I think that's kind of like why I stay single and stuff because like I do have an understanding about what I bring to the table as a man, as a provider, as a just a person. You know what I mean? And the things that I come to the table with, man, they're patience and kindness and respect and loyalty and just all that stuff that you learn when you're trying to raise girls up to show them what they should be expecting in their lives from the men they choose. you
Exactly.
know
Yep.
and so the last thing I'm going to do is show my kids all that for all these years and then get myself in a situation where I'm not being respected and I'm not seen as useful and that goes, then everything I worked and did is
Right.
gone by the wayside if I do that. So I guess I'll just be single as long as I need to be, dude. you
Yeah.
know?
Hey man, you seem like a great dad. So and I'm sorry to hear what happened, but
Yeah, man.
you seem like you're doing a really good job with your girls.
Well,
So
that doesn't go without saying that, if you only saw the mistakes I made, you know what I mean? Like I made
right. Yeah.
some real terrible ones that, what I was talking about earlier about letting my kids be mad at me, where they were mad at me for quite a long time, you
Yeah.
know. But they're not anymore. They don't have no more anger left in them about it. It's
That's
just, it's
great.
gone for them, They gave it who
Yeah.
they needed to give it to. That person, me, took it like a man who deserved it. And, that was it, and it just that for me works so much better with kids than trying to tell them about, oh, you shouldn't feel this way or don't feel that way or that's stupid or you don't understand. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, come on, man.
Yep.
How can you, like, of course they don't understand. They got no bearing for understanding. So why would
Right.
you even say that to
Right.
them? You know what I mean? Like, these are the little things that
Yeah.
I picked up on being a dad. Like, you just don't want to say to your kids because it just knocks them down. You're trying to build them up, and you don't understand. All you're doing is
Yep.
just literally verbally slapping the shit out of them and tell them to be quiet. And that's look, kids are quiet. They are curious and ingenious and they want to know everything that they see. What is this? What is it? And it doesn't stop just because they turn 10 or 15 or whatever. Like I'm still amazed by stuff at 40. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I want to know. Get on Google and like, oh my God, that's crazy, right? So it doesn't ever stop.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, yeah, I'll let you go. I
Cool.
know your daughter's trying to
Yeah, she's
get some
hungry.
food, but
Little shit.
thank you for jumping on the podcast. I
Yeah,
appreciate
bud.
it.
Good talking with you.